Welcome back to Animation Teacher. Today we'll be talking about a new application. This one complements Toon Boom Harmony. So this is called Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, and it is a fantastic software. So what we'll do today is I'm going to show you a little bit of the user interface and how to uh, export and create a storyboard for your Harmony files. So we'll name this Intro to Storyboard Pro. Now I'm going to just go to our standard resolution here, HD 1920 by 1080, and I'll go ahead and create a project. So the first thing you'll notice on the top or on the left hand side here are a lot of the tools that are similar here as they might appear in Toon Boom Harmony or even Photoshop. The only different tools that you have here are some timeline tools, last frame, first frame, you have camera, and you have reframe. Now up here we have, besides new open save as, cut and paste panels, this over here is what we need to be paying attention to. So the first, we'll go over this one at a time. This first view here is our drawing workspace, and essentially what you're looking at here is a panel of a storyboard, and you have layers set here. Now, automatically, they're set to vector layers. You can create bitmap layers as well. So I'll show you how this works here. So let's say we had a scene where it's basically a pond. So what I'm doing here is I'm holding Alt while I drag to manipulate the Beziers, similar to how I would do it in Harmony. Okay, so we have our pond, and let's say we wanted to draw a duck, but we wanted the duck to be created using bitmap. So I'm just going to right click here and go bitmap layer. You'll notice some of the tools have disappeared. You can only use a brush tool to draw essentially, which isn't half bad because since it is a bitmap, you have a little bit more of a natural feel like you would in Photoshop, and it allows you to create nicer, I should say, sketches. So we have our duck here. It's like a rubber duck almost. Okay, so here's our duck. Give him some hairs. What you'll notice is you can actually move the duck around like so, and I've separated the duck in a bitmap layer and my pond in this vector layer. And because it's a vector based pond, I can kind of manipulate it any way I want. Whereas when I select the duck up here, it's confined to a box. So basically anything that I do to this duck is limited to me moving it around or cutting it in pieces like you would in Photoshop as well. So you can cut and manipulate your drawings like so. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a layer underneath, And I'll just color this duck. Oops. I'm just gonna undo that. Okay, so I have my duck on the above layer. I'm gonna draw on this layer below. Just to maintain the line above. Now obviously it's probably better to color this as a vector, but I just want to show you guys how this works. Now you'll see that it appears above the line, but it's only temporary. I think it's a memory issue, and it just fixes itself after the fact. I just wanted to show you real quick what this is about. So I'm just going to color the duck's bill real quickly here. Okay. Okay, so we have our quick duck here, and it's separated as an line art and color. So I'm going to go ahead and merge this. So I'll highlight the two by hitting Shift, and I'm going to go to Merge Selected Layers. So with that now I can move the whole duck. Alright, so here we have our duck and our pawn. Now I want you guys to have a look at what we some of these tabs up here. We have something called a new panel. We have a new scene. We have new sequence. We have add smart add panel or add smart panel, and this one is duplicate selected panels. So what I'll do is I'm gonna create a duplicated panel here, and you'll see that we have some numbers here. This basically represents scene 1, and this represents panel 1 and panel 2. So let's suppose in panel 2 I move the duck to the right a little bit here. So in panel 1 I have the duck here, panel 2 I have the duck here. Now let's suppose we do a cut scene and we want to introduce another scene. We'll just go here and hit select new scene. As you can see, it separates outside of this box now, and you'll see here it says scene 1, panel 1 of 2, 2 of 2. And now, because we're on scene 2, we have an entirely new box set. Now, in my cut scene here, I actually want to keep this duck, so I'm going to select the duck here using my merge layer here. I'm going to Control C. I'm going to go over here, and I have to make sure it's a bitmap layer, and I'm going to Control V, paste it. Now obviously because it's a bitmap you lose out on the line quality. However, if you brought in your water, your pawn, Control C, and you paste it in this layer, which is a vector layer, and I know it because the arrow and the pencil tool show up, or the contour editor and the pencil tool show up. So I'm going to hit Control V and paste the water. I'll just enlarge it here so it matches the scene. Okay, so I have this scene here and then a cut scene here. Now we have two scenes. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you what it looks like in the timeline view. So this is basically the timeline view. This allows you essentially to edit your animation. Like any editing software, you can control the timing by just pulling and dragging it here. Now, very much like Harmony, you can hit plus, or sorry, You can hit 2 to zoom in, hold the space bar to pan, and if you hold down Control and Alt, you can actually rotate your canvas. So if you're like me and you can only draw circles one way, you can flip it around and continue drawing your circle. To reset, just hit Shift M and that'll bring it back. Okay. Oh, one more thing. I just wanted to show you what this reframe button actually does. So let's say this shot is a little bit too wide and we want in both panels of this scene we want to reframe it so it's a little tighter and we add a little bit of a tilt. Inside your tool properties, while you have your camera selected or your reframe button selected, you're gonna go into operations and hit apply. This one is cancel. We want to hit apply and it'll apply it to both panels in your scene. Okay, I don't quite like that, so I'm gonna undo Control Z. Okay, now that we have our basic scene, I'm just gonna tweak the timing here. Okay. Oh, actually, I'm gonna add a zoom in here. To do that, you activate the camera tool here. You can right click and hit add camera keyframe at the current frame. And then add keyframe to current frame again and do your camera move. So let's go in right to his eye here. Oops. So to rotate, you just gotta hover in the right area. This top point here is for you to truck in, and you can grab the center to move it. So how that looks like is like this, but if you actually view this in the storyboard panel mode, or if you export a PDF mode, it's actually gonna show the proper truck-in lines. I'll show you that in a bit. Actually, I'll show you that now. So just to recap, we looked at the drawing view, the drawing workspace. Currently we are in the timeline workspace, which allows you to edit and also import sound if you want. You just import sound clips here. This view is called the thumbnail view or thumbnail workspace. What this allows you to do is rearrange scenes and rearrange scenes and or put scenes inside other scenes and make them panels. So this here is scene 2, this here is scene 1, panel 2. If I wanted, I can even put it right in the middle of that one scene. So I'm just going to hit Control Z to undo all that. Next, I want to show you the horizontal view. As you can see here, the camera move is drawn out like so. So you can actually, once you export it, you can actually see visually the camera move that happens. What's cool is I think you can still draw on these panels in these view. It's not ideal for viewing or for drawing in this view, but you can do it. What's useful for this is, however, you can add dialogue. action notes, and slugging. So this is primarily for editors. Um, and these slugging notes basically are from the director or assistant director, and usually it has to do with um, something they would put in if they ran out of time. For example, if we animated or if we storyboarded this whole duck show in an 11-minute episode, and after it was fully done, some client will say, or a client might say, that yellow duck with the orange bill, we want it to have polka dots. So you would put in your slugging notes something like, okay, so ensure duckbill has polka dots from scene 1 to 27. So that way the scene planner and designer and animator knows that it has to have polka dots on its duckbill, even if it's not storyboarded. So that's what slugging means. Notes, it's miscellaneous. You can use it for a variety of things. This is the vertical view of what we just saw. Okay, same thing, but just stacked vertically. This here is called the pitch view, but the pitch workspace, I should say. And basically, this utilizes a bigger area of your screen, and it allows you playback on all of your shots, as well as the ability uh, to just play back in a loop your sequence. You can do minor drawing things, but you're very limited in terms of your tool set. So this isn't quite preferable to create storyboards. These tools are primarily for notes. So if you showed your director this, he might write something like, remember the polka dots. Okay, I'm just gonna undo all that. And to exit this mode, since there are no buttons up here, you have to find this little door. It's called exit pitch mode. So we're gonna click that, and we go back to this. So that's pitch mode there. Next up, this is the PDF workspace. This is basically similar to the horizontal workspace, but it kind of lays it out in a way that you'll normally see a PDF setup. What's nice about this is I don't have enough panels, but you can actually scroll left and right along the bottom here, so you can see everything. This here is called the 3D view workspace. As you can see up here, you have elements that are shown in 3D space. Some of the vector elements, I believe, you can move. In the 3D workspace here. Not quite sure how that works, actually. Coordinates. So if this is anything like Toon Boom, doesn't look like you can punch in anything here. However, you can import 3D modeled elements into this workspace and rotate it. Perhaps it's only 3D elements that you can actually do that with. for these flat views. Unfortunately, I don't see a way to do it. Alright, I'm just messing around at this point. Okay, so that's basically the overview of Storyboard Pro. So this here is the 3D mode, and in this view, you can actually import 3D objects and manipulate them. So it'll be useful for, in our case, if we had a 3D duck, for example, and we wanted to show all the angles of him moving without having to redraw, you can import a Maya made 3D duck inside your Storyboard Pro panel and rotate it any way you want. Okay, so if you want to export, I like to actually take us back to this view here. I'm going to shorten the camera move here and shorten our panels. Once you're satisfied with your storyboard, you're going to go to File, Export. You can export either a movie or export it to Toon Boom. I'm going to do a movie first. So when you go File, Export Movie, I'll name this Duck in Pond, and we'll just do quarter size for now. We'll export all of it. And sorry, I actually have to set desktop as the path, and I'm going to name it, actually, so you're going to go to File, Export. So the destination path, we'll leave it at desktop. We're going to export all and hit export. Okay, and we'll close it. And this is it here. Okay, so that's our cheapo storyboard here. Now I'm gonna export to a Toon Boom Harmony file. So you go export to Toon Boom, and we're gonna put it on the desktop, and we'll call this Duck in Pond. And you want to make sure you set it to your proper harmony. So in our case, it'll be 9.2 or higher, and we'll render all frames. And then we'll just export. Okay. Actually, okay, so to export, what we're going to do is we're going to get Okay, so to export, we're going to go into our timeline, select all of this. So I'm just gonna click it, shift and click, file, export to Toon Boom. We'll save it on a desktop. I'll name it Duck and Pond. You want to save it to or export target to Harmony 9.2 or higher. That's assuming you guys are using that. Otherwise, click the proper settings. We're going to render everything here, generate one scene, say per selection, and we'll go all frames. Export. Okay. And here's the file. Here's the file here. We actually have 3. I think this one is it. So I'll double click this X stage to open it up. And here it is in all its glory. So once you have that, you can take the panel, or sorry, the animatic. You're going to put a peg to it, and you can either scoot it off to the side, or some people actually like to see a transparent version of it. Transparency. Just put it through there. So you can see that it's a little more transparent. The lower you go, the less transparent it is. The higher you go, the more transparent it is. Okay, so that's if you want to keep it in frame. And we'll just play that. If you have audio, it'll also import the audio as well. Okay, so that's basically it. As you can see here, the animatic comes in broken frames or broken instances. You can also import your movie, so import movie. So we created a movie on the desktop here. We're just going to open that up. And we'll just leave everything in its preset, create its single layer. And that appears like this. So as you can see on the timeline, it's very much similar to our animatic, what we've imported in earlier. So like I said, you can export a movie, or you can export to Toon Boom. Either or is fine. So that basically does it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and have fun using Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. See you next time. Thanks for watching.